Thank you for tuning in. Today, I'd like to talk about the experience of pressure. Pressure gets a bad rap. The literal definition of pressure is simply the force exerted on an object. Exerting force is how we move our bodies, move other objects, more poetically, how we move our minds, or even move other people. Literally or figuratively, pressure is by definition the thing that facilitates movement. When we describe ourselves as experiencing pressure, we usually mean it in a negative sense. It's unpleasant to feel pressured to accomplish something, pressure to get where you're going on time, pressure to behave a certain way, pressure to get to the point of an argument. When we experience pressure in this way, what we are experiencing is an intensity of pressure that goes beyond what we sense is necessary or desirable. Because when the level of pressure we are experiencing is just the level needed to facilitate whatever movement we are engaging in, we don't really feel it. Let's look at the way our breath pressure facilitates singing. Voice teachers often say support, and they also say don't push. When I was learning to sing, I found this very confusing, and you may too. So here's how you can tell the difference. When you are supporting your voice well, what that means is that you are regulating your breath pressure in a way that creates a sense of balance with your vocal folds. It feels simultaneously very free and very powerful, but there is little or no sense of effort or pressure. When your voice is well supported, you don't actually feel the breath pressure. What you feel is this security that your breath is there for you, that you can sustain high notes forever, that your breath is there to enable you to express whatever you want. While you may have to condition your breathing to be able to regularly enjoy this quality of coordination, you come to know that you can rely on it because you have a breathing system that responds to whatever musical and expressive demands you place on it. By contrast, when you create an excess of pressure, such that you feel it, well, that's what pushing is. When you push with the breath, you feel an increase of pressure, because if you're going to push, you need to be able to push against something, usually some resistance in your throat or in your mouth. What I'd like you to bear in mind for the purpose of this discussion of pressure is that when the forces are in balance and you feel a secure sense of support, those are conditions that you are creating inside your own body. And when you feel the sense of pressure, tension, and effort that accompanies pushing, these are also conditions that you are creating inside your own body. What this means is that you always have the possibility of creating balance and alleviating the discomfort of pressure. The paradox is that while you are pushing, it is difficult to remember this, because in that moment you are likely to feel certain that the pushing is necessary, that the pushing is the singing. Now let's zoom out and consider how we experience pressure in our day-to-day lives. When all the forces are in balance, what we experience is what athletes call being in the zone. You feel confident, ready to respond to whatever comes at you, trusting yourself, trusting your preparation, keeping your eyes on the prize. You know why you're here. You know where you want to go. All of your attention is focused on the process you're engaging in. You're motivated by your own vision and desires. You aren't second-guessing anything. In these moments, you do not experience a sense of pressure, even when the stakes may seem very high. For example, if your baseball team needs you to hit it out of the ballpark in order to win a game, or your audience is expecting you to sing a spectacular high note. In these situations, you do not feel overwhelmed by the pressure such conditions generate. You feel supported by your team, supported by your audience. Now let's consider what it means when we are feeling an unpleasant sense of pressure and feel like we need to push on ourselves to get ourselves to do something. Similar to singing, when this happens, what we are pushing against is resistance we feel in our bodies and minds. Maybe you really want to do something, but you meet with internal resistance because you don't feel ready or because it's scary, and you feel paralyzed by visions of what could go wrong. Maybe it's something that you really don't want to do, But you believe that you have to do it in order to get something that you do want, or to keep conditions from getting worse than they already are. When we feel like we're pushing ourselves to do things, what we are pushing against is this sense of internal resistance. And like singing, we are likely to feel that the pushing and the pressure that results is an inherent part of the process. It isn't. But in that moment, you believe that the pushing is the doing. Our culture tends to glorify this unpleasant experience by calling it perseverance or discipline, when what you are doing, in fact, is aggressively imposing your will on yourself and muscling through your discomfort. You could instead investigate the source of your internal resistance, find a way to alleviate it, and bring your experience and your activities into balance in a way that greatly reduces the effort and the discomfort, while also increasing your sense of confidence and the possibility of success. But in that moment, when you think the pushing is the doing, it is difficult to remember this, because you think it is this sense of pressure that is motivating you to take action and to succeed. If you have had the wonderful experience of what it feels like to sing when all of the forces are in balance, and have also had the experience of singing when it feels pressured and effortful, you know what I'm talking about. The good news is that you can apply this principle to your life more broadly. When you are in a state of flow, there is no sense of pressure because all of the forces are in balance and you feel supported by them. Tomorrow morning, Monday, November 20th at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern, I will lead a guided singing practice to explore the relationship between the breath and the voice and what balance between them feels like. It'll be about 15 to 20 minutes long. If you have the time available, I hope that you will practice with me. And if not, you can practice along with the recording afterwards. For those of you who are accessing this podcast on platforms other than YouTube, you can join me for the real-time practice guided session on my YouTube channel. Please see the episode description for the link.